Welcome to Lockdown Economy, the UN-registered nonprofit initiative by think tank AlterContacts to help small businesses and self-employed professionals overcome the challenges of the pandemic and reactivate the economy. I'm Christiana Finnegan, and our guest today is Heidi Solomon, Vice President of Global Sales of VXI Global Solutions and founder and CEO of Girls Who Sell. Welcome, Heidi. Thank you for participating.
Christiana, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
It's a pleasure. What do you do as a business?
So I have my day job, which is Vice President of Global Sales for VXI Global Solutions. We are a $600 million global business process outsourcing company that actually employs over 35,000 people around the globe. I'm very blessed to work with such an amazing organization. But as you mentioned, I'm also founder and CEO of a small business. It's my side hustle called Girls Who Sell, which is an organization that is committed to closing the gender gap in B2B sales and positioning sales as an intentional career opportunity for young women.
Awesome. And where is this Girls Who Sell company located? Do you have any employees?
We don't. So now I'm a solo entrepreneur, but I hope to be changing that soon. So yeah, I'm headquartered out of New Hampshire.
Okay, so you're in the United States.
So like most of us working from home at the moment, but
yeah. How did the lockdown and the pandemic affect your business?
So it's interesting. I'll take this question from a couple of different angles. The first, I guess, is from a VXI perspective. We were very fortunate that the percentage of our business is not necessarily in industries that were exponentially or negatively impacted by the pandemic. So even though we did have a revenue impact, we remained strong. But we had to reinvent ourselves as an organization. We had to pivot. Up until the pandemic, 100% of our work was done in brick-and-mortar contact centers. We had to pivot almost 100% at one point of our employees to a work-from-home environment. To now, I would say that we still maintain about a 60-40 split. It depends on what geography. China, at one point, we were 100% work from home, and now we've almost recovered, and people are 100% back at work in the office. But in the Philippines and Guatemala and Jamaica and the US, the percentage of people that are working at home, continue to vary. From a Girls Who Sell perspective, this is a new organization that was actually born out of the pandemic. And I wanted, if you're okay, Christiana, to maybe just share some stats in terms of context.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, cool. So, listen, the reality is the impacts of a pandemic are not gender neutral, right? They're just not. And the social and economic impacts of COVID-19 fell harder on women than men. That's just a reality. And I believe that the government, and so I love what you're doing, by the way, I'm super passionate about it, but the government needs to gather data and target policy to keep citizens equally safe, sheltered, and secure.
Yeah.
So, let's take a look at the numbers. In the healthcare sector, as an example, right, 70% of healthcare workers and first responders are women, right? And yet 28% of the gender pay gap in healthcare is higher than the overall gender pay gap of 19% globally, right? This pandemic, we are rolling back the clock on the economic gains that we have made as women. Women are losing their jobs exponentially more than men because they're overrepresented in industries that have been the hardest hit. So food service, retail, entertainment, right?
Yeah.
According to the Department of Labor, 140 million, these are global stats, but 140 million full-time jobs may be lost to COVID, and women's employment is 19% more at risk than men. That's
Wow.
huge.
Yeah.
That's just huge. In the US, women make up 46% of workers pre-COVID, yet represented between 43% and 54% of overall job losses because of the fact that, one, they're in industries hardest hit, and two, they still are required to take on more of the home responsibilities. So as kids pivoted to at-home schooling, women took up most of that responsibilities and either lost their jobs or made the decision to move out of corporate America to care for their families, right? If we stay this path, we could see $1 trillion GDP impact by 2030. So I say that just as a backdrop. And how does that relate to Girls Who Sell? We're a small startup company, right? But as a woman, it is really critical at this point that we focus on creating jobs and that we allow women to pivot and to perhaps move into more entrepreneurial positions where they can excel. So Girls Who Sell is an organization that is focused on training and developing young talent who, by the way, have also been exponentially impacted by the pandemic. They're coming out of college, they're having a hard time finding jobs. They're not able to find jobs in their in the career of their choice, right? Or what they got their degrees on. And I'm hearing it. I've interviewed hundreds of women. And so we're looking to be able to train and develop young women and to develop a pipeline of future sales leaders for corporations, because talent today is also at risk, right? It's also at risk. And so I feel like it's incumbent upon me as a woman to be able to move the needle and to create, to give back, and to leverage, frankly, my privilege. I mean, I've been very fortunate during this pandemic. I have a job, I have a home, I have food on the table, and I'm healthy, I have a family, and I've fared better than so many other women out there, particularly women of color and in underserved communities. And so I feel it's my responsibility, particularly as a white woman in this country, to give back and to create opportunities for other women. So that's why Girls Who Sell was born.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you're doing. I think it's incredible and it's very relevant to the time right now. Do you feel like since you started a company during the pandemic, do you think that you had any challenges? How did you overcome any challenges? Was there anything in particular that you feel like you would like to share since you started a company during the pandemic?
Yeah, again, I'll take it from two angles, right? So from a VXI, from a VXI perspective, I mentioned earlier that we had to reinvent ourselves as an organization, not only moving people from traditional brick and mortar environments, supporting companies that are considered essential, right? So companies in the telecommunications industry, for example, or in healthcare or in other industries that remained essential. It was critical for us to remain in business and be able to support these organizations and assure that they were not negatively impacted by our ability to maintain our staffing, right? So that was one thing. From my personal perspective as a VP of Global Sales, and this impacted our client services organization, our sales organization, and even some of our operations teams, I spent 70% of my time pre-pandemic on the road, right? So I was in front of clients, or I was at our global site locations, and that just came to a halt, right? So we really needed to determine how to reinvent our sales organization and the way that we interacted with customers in a virtual environment. And that included everything from, how do we do virtual site visits? I mean, we couldn't just stop doing business, right? We needed to continue to listen. My job is to bring in new revenue, right? We needed to continue to bring in new revenue. COVID was not an excuse, right? So so we needed to find other ways to be able to creatively engage with customers and still move the business forward. So that's from the BXI perspective. From a Girls Who Sell perspective, let me tell you, not being on the road 70% of times and 70% of the time and hanging in airports and hotel rooms and all the things I was normally doing, I had space to fill, right? And so for me, launching a company during the pandemic was a very good opportunity for me to be able to leverage what my passion for sales, and to be able to develop an organization that can bring that to market. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's something that is very true for almost all companies. We have to somehow find new ways of doing business. And in terms of your business, how is your business going now, especially with new lockdowns after Christmas? And what are you planning for the next coming months?
Yeah, so from a VXI perspective, we're staying the course. It's business as usual, and we are just going to continue to enhance what's worked, and continue to add value to our customers in any way that we can. So from that perspective, I think we're just going to stay the course and watch what happens with the world, and do our part. We've donated millions of dollars in terms of support in the different countries that we do business with, in terms of putting individuals up in hotels, and donating masks, and assuring that we're in 100% compliance with all the regulations by country that we are required to meet. And of course, first and foremost is keeping our employees safe. So that's, we're just going to stay the course on what we did in 2019 and adjust to whatever gets thrown at us, in terms of 2020, in 2020, not 2019. I lost a year. That's the way it feels like. I've lost complete, perspective on time. But what happened to us in 2020, and then, stay the course in 2021. So that's it. In terms of Girls Who Sell, we're just officially launching the company. We made the announcement. So there's been a lot of work that has been done to get us to this point. But it's really going to market and being able to work with developing the training programs, being able to work with high schools and colleges, bring these programs to market, and start building the skill set of the future sales leaders. So 2021 is going to be a really big year for Girls Who Sell in terms of continuing to build the company. Another component of Girls Who Sell, which you might find interesting, is that not only do we want to support young women, right, in training and development and in sales, but ultimately, the ultimate goal is to develop a first national and then global sales training network, the B2B sales training network. So to license our training curriculum and to put other women in business so they can become independent Girls Who Sell facilitators and trainers and start their own companies. And so that's a big goal for our company in 2021 as well.
Yeah, that's amazing, amazing, amazing. Very good girl. And being that it will probably be an online course and an online training, and I believe it could be a global experience as well.
Yeah, all of the courses right now, and we're developing, of course, we're going to be doing some webinars, but we have 3 different programs that are in development at the moment. One is uh, just a 3-hour boot camp, right, that we can easily slide into university curriculums, basically educating young women about the benefits of a career in B2B sales.
Mhm.
Then we have a 3-day program, which will take that to the next level. And then also a 6-month program that we're going to be in development as well. So all of those will be virtual when the world reopens up and we can all get together face to face. I think that, some of those could also transition and we could do summer camps or, other face to face type of opportunities, conferences, those kinds of things. But for now, the world is virtual, so we're adapting.
Yeah, yeah. And I hope as well that you can get to have in-person interactions with the course. I think it would be very meaningful too. So Heidi, my last question for you is if you could name 3 things that you need help with, what would that be?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Um, I, you know, I just think, I just want to ask for um, continued support from women. Um, I really love how women have come together. I love the corporate focus, that was born out of some unfortunate circumstances this year in terms of racial unrest and that companies now are more than ever focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And so I guess altruistically, I hope that that continues, that it's not necessarily just a COVID thing, but that companies have a long-term commitment to trying to provide more job opportunities and more equity for women. So that's the one thing. From a Girls Who Sell perspective, uh, well, go to my website,
Yeah.
www.girlzwhosell, GIRLZ, whosell.com. And if you're interested in our initiative and you'd like to learn more about becoming a corporate sponsor or a trainer or a mentor and thought leader for the organization, I would really appreciate you reaching out. The concept is to try to deliver these programs at no cost to our students and have the organization subsidized by corporate sponsorship. So that would be incredibly important and appreciated.
Yep. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we covered it all. Just thank you so much for the important work that you're doing with the United Nations and highlighting the true impacts of the pandemic on the world. And I'm just really appreciative, Christiana, that you've given me, a platform and a minute to share my thoughts about this very important topic.
It's my pleasure, Heidi. Thank you for participating. I feel like it's been a challenging year for all of us, 2020, but 2021 sounds like a very hopeful year and very optimistic of the future. Thank you so much for sharing your pandemic experience with us today. I hope this will be helpful and inspiring. And don't forget to talk to Heidi and contact her. Feel free to use the links on the description below. And I invite you to hit the thumbs up and like this video and subscribe to our channel. We will have many more insights from other businesses, sectors, and other countries. So stay tuned. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you, Christiana.